welcome in to the Blitz podcast. I am your host, Mr. Kane Schwartz, and we're doing episode 2 of the night on Tuesday night, But this is the Power Rankings episode. You guys look forward to it every week. We're recording on Tuesday, gonna have it out Thursday, but a lot of action to happen this week, a lot of moving around, but I'm excited, man. You ready?
Yeah, I'm excited
to argue. And Jaden has a big old smile on his face right now because he's staring in the face of our graphic if you're watching on YouTube, and it's the picks recap. So go ahead and take a victory lap.
I mean, I haven't done the numbers on this, but I do feel like 13 for 15 might be the highest score that anyone has recorded. I don't remember anybody getting a 15 out of 15. I don't ever remember anybody getting 100%, and I don't remember ever getting one wrong, just one wrong. So, I mean, this felt like a pretty good week. The only ones that got wrong were Vegas, who got their shit kicked in, whatever, and then the Cardinals, who had 3 chances to win this game inside the 6-minute mark and failed to do so. So I tried my best. But yeah, I'm gonna take my victory lap, man. It was nice to keep heating up after last week. I think I was leading last week, so. Again, we're just trying to get better every week. We're just trying to go 1-0 every day. So we're going to keep making improvements, and hopefully moving forward, we just keep getting better.
That's a winner's mentality right there. I appreciate that. I'm still taking the home run swings, but those hit sometimes, and I did do fairly well this week. In comparison to my usual home run hitting record of making pick selections, but. Without further ado, let's dive into a recap for our audio listeners out there. And before we dive into our power rankings, just a quick recap of Week 8. So, we start out with Thursday Night Football. The Ravens smacked the poop out of the Bucs. Tyler was the only one to pick the Bucs.
By one score.
Yeah, they dominated that game. Come on now. But it was a garbage time touchdown for Brady. But then we had in London on Sunday morning, Broncos at the Jags. I thought that was weird how the Jags were like the designated home team. Like, does that just mean that
they're always the home team because of their contract? Because I think it was 2012, their owner Shad Khan decided that they wanted to do a Jags game over there every year, and I do think that that's because there have been multiple times where he's had plans of moving the team to London, and you want to try and build a fan base out there because obviously Jacksonville, there's not a whole lot going on, plus the team's not been very good. They could move to London or Germany or whatever, but they're building that fan base in London, and I think Goodell's really hyping it up. I don't think it will ever work just because everyone's going to hate going to London. Like, imagine being in the same division as the team that's in London, and every year you got to travel out there. Every year.
Yeah.
And I know that they did talk about having their own international division, but you still have to play out of division because of that. If you don't do that, then you're playing in a separate league. So, and an international team, you're still talking about inter-country, you're going from London to Germany, and it's still a lot more traveling than inside the United States. So I don't think it will ever work, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic for sure. I've thought about it a lot. But yeah, we'll see how that unfolds. But let's dive into the rest of the recap. The Jacksonville Jaguars do lose in London. The Broncos, let's ride, catch a dub over there. Then we had Panthers-Falcons, which went into OT thanks to P.J. Walker's longest throw ever recorded in next-gen stat era.
And thanks to DJ Moore throwing his fucking helmet off like an idiot.
I heard that it wasn't technically a foul. Like, they shouldn't have called it because he was off the field, technically. So.
But you got to have a little bit more awareness than that. Because that there's still 12 seconds on the clock. That there's still an extra point. That technically it's off. Like, you can take your helmet off when it's on the. It's supposed to be off the field of play, but I think it's intended for the sideline. Like, you're supposed to be on the sideline when you take your helmet off, obviously. But you've just got to have more awareness than that of what if they do call this penalty? Granted, there were 2 kicks that should have been made by the kicker. But
you're telling me that after he catches a fucking 65-yard Hail Mary bomb, that he's thinking oh shit, you know what? what I'm thinking about right now as a 65-yard pass through the air is going to head to me as I sprint through double coverage is whether or not I need to take my helmet off. Like, bro, if I did that, I'm taking my helmet off and throwing it into the stands. Like, holy shit, man. Come on.
And you would cost your team the game.
Sorry.
Apparently.
But the Falcons do end up winning thanks to that DJ Moore mishap. But as we move on, Bears at Cowboys. Bears put up a fight in this one, but the Cowboys end up blowing them out in the end. Dolphins at the Lions. The Dolphins continue to roll, and the Lions continue to look absolutely ass. Tyler was the only one who picked the Lions. The rest of us picked the Dolphins, and all of us picked Falcons and Cowboys. Cardinals at the Vikings. This was a close game, as you mentioned, Jaden. But the Vikings come out on top at home. Me and Tyler both took the Vikings, and you and Mitch both took the Cardinals, one of your two losses. And then you took another loss, as did I, with the Raiders pick, as they get shut out in New Orleans. Tyler was the only one to have. I can't wait to put them into the power ranking. Steelers at Eagles. Eagles get a convincing win out there at the Link. Patriots at the Jets. I went the Jets, buying in on the record, buying in on maybe Zach Wilson not being as bad, but he was really bad, and the Patriots come out on top. I was the only one to pick the Jets. I was the only one to pick the Texans as well. That's the last time that I'll do that. The Titans end up winning that one in Houston. You all three had that. Giants at the Seahawks was the only matchup we had this week with teams with 2 winning records, and the Seahawks end up beating the red-hot Giants. Jaden, you had that one as well as Tyler. Me and Mitch both had the Giants. Commanders at the Colts. Came down to the wire in this one. Dude, I mentioned it. That fucking Terry Taylor combination is something. I dare to say matchup proof. Like, he's going to find him, and Terry's going to get open, dude. Come on now. Like, he's not going to throw to anybody else. He doesn't, like, if it's not going to Terry in a game, if he's getting locked up, we lose. So, that's just how it is. But Terry makes a hell of a catch at the 1-yard line. We run it in. Washington picks up the dub. In Indy, Mitch was the only one to pick the Colts. He was also the only one to pick the Rams as they play at home against the 49ers. Another team that I can't wait to rank is the fucking Rams because they suck. 49ers come out on top in that one. Me, you, and Mitch all had the Bills beating the Packers at home. Tyler took the upset, taking the Packers. Didn't look so good there. And then just last night on Monday Night Football, Bengals at the Browns. Me and Mitch both picked the Bengals, but they really look ass without Jamar Chase. The Browns end up on top in that one. So, that does it for our little Week 8 picks recap. But without further ado, it's time. It's time for them power rankings. So, let me get the graphic up real quick. There we go. Okay, so to recap last week's rankings real quick, we had Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Vikings, Cowboys, Giants, and Ravens in Tier 1. 49ers, Dolphins, Jets, Titans. So 49ers, Dolphins, Jets, Titans, Seahawks, Chargers, Rams, and Raiders in Tier 2. Cardinals, Bucs, Falcons, Packers, Colts, Bears, Patriots, Jags in Tier 3. Browns, Saints, Broncos, Steelers, Commanders, Panthers, Lions, and Texans in Tier 4. All of those are in order. Check it out on the Instagram if you care to compare with us as we go along. But let's dive into it, man. Let's start making some changes. And I think the first change that I'm thinking about personally, Chiefs are coming off the bye. The Eagles just had a really impressive victory in which they took out their starters against the Steelers. I think they belong in spot 2.
For sure. And we talked about it with Tyler. We said, look, I know you're probably mad that the Eagles are going to move down because of the bye week, but very well, Kansas City has their bye week next week. The Eagles play the Steelers, and that's exactly what played out. I feel like Philly does need to move up to 2 as well.
Yeah, I like that there was no debate there. I'm with that. But next up, we've got So we got Bills at 1. I'm comfortable with that for sure. Had another impressive showing this week. Chiefs moved down to 3, and the Vikings are at 4, unquestionably.
Yeah. So I moved Cincy down to 10.
Let me take a look at where I have Cincy. I also, dude, do we have the same fucking rankings? Because I also moved Cincy down to 10.
It's obviously gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's obviously gonna happen. Surely.
This team looked dreadful without Jamar Chase. This offense kind of looked brilliant. I mean, kind of. It looked brilliant with Jamar Chase in it. I mean, but the curtain's kind of been, I was mentioning this to my roommates last night, the curtain's kind of been unveiled now. Like, now that Jamar Chase is injured and you're not getting that double coverage on him every time, where T. Higgins is just getting that single coverage and he's getting 10 catches a game, without that game plan in place and without that threat of Jamar Chase, because teams would much rather have T. Higgins go for 10 catches for 100 yards, 89 yards, whatever it is, than Jamar Chase go for 6 catches and 250 yards with 3 touchdowns. Like, they'd much rather do that. But now that Jamar Chase...
That's what I...
Yeah, as it respectfully. But this... I don't know how you're able to not cook up anything on that offense with the weapons that they have. I mean, Tyler Boyd, former, possibly still one of the best slot receivers in the NFL. T. Higgins, he's a dog. Joe Mixon, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Your offensive line's gotten it together, and Joe Burrow's a top 5 quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, or like we said, I've got him at 10.
Yeah.
I just can't see them being in tier 1. They looked really good right up until Monday night. It felt like everything was clicking on offense. They were finally getting the run game working again, and now it's right back to where they were, but probably even worse with no Jamar Chase. They didn't put him on IR, which I do think is a good sign. That means there is a chance that he comes back within the next 3 weeks. Because initially the thought was 4 to 6, maybe even 8 weeks. So them not putting him on IR is a good sign, but not a good sign of how bad they looked without him. I said it preseason. Yes, 1, 2, 3. This is probably the best wide receiver room in the league, but 4, 5, and 6 are probably the 3 worst. That's the 3 worst 4, 5, and 6 in the league. And these are 3 guys that you don't want to see on the football field. And now Jamar Chase is banged up at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks. T. Higgins has been banged up in multiple points this year. If he misses time, you're looking at, a Trent Taylor, Michael Thomas, not the good one, and Tyler Boyd receiving group around Joe Burrow and an offensive line that's underperformed and a run game, quite frankly, that's underperformed. Chidobe Awuzie also tore his ACL last night. That's a big loss because he's been playing like a top 10 corner this year. He was definitive for number 1, and now that number 1 moves to Eli Apple, who, despite the memes, is serviceable, but definitely not a guy you want being your number 1 corner guarding the best wide receiver on the other team. There's problems in Cincy. I think that, some of the things that we talked about in the preseason where maybe they don't make the playoffs, not due to a fault of, them just being a bad team, but due to injuries and certain other things, they might be realized here in an AFC that looks more and more loaded by the week.
One of the most interesting situations in the NFL right now is what you do with Zach Taylor, man. The dude took the team to a fucking Super Bowl.
I know, and that's the thing.
Because I have no clue.
I remember saying last year that it sucks that they went to a Super Bowl because they're never going to fire Zach Taylor when you take a team to a Super Bowl. But he's not a good coach, and I've said that week in and week out is that he's not a good coach. He has to go, and it's just not going to happen because of the fact that they went to a Super Bowl. I don't know what do you think the record is for him to be fired? Like at the end of the season, granted, Jamar doesn't miss the rest of the year unexpectedly, or Joe Burrow doesn't miss time. Like if they go 8 and 9, do you think he holds his job?
It's playoffs or bust. You took that team super young, Jamar Chase's fucking rookie year, and you took them to the Super Bowl. Like that's fantastic. You should be able to make the playoffs at least every single year with that squad if you took them to the Super Bowl. So if they don't make the playoffs, I easily see Zach Taylor being fired.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I can see that.
All right, let's move on through the rest of these teams. Dude, we just moved the Bengals down from tier 1 to tier 2. But let's talk about some teams eligible to move from tier 2 up to tier 1. And for me, the 49ers are absolutely cemented.
I was about to say, it starts with San Francisco for sure.
I personally have the 49ers at 5, above the Cowboys, and above the Ravens.
So I have the Niners at 6, just because we're still waiting on that defensive line to get healthy. They did start kind of slow against LA. I'm kind of nitpicking a little bit. I just feel better about Dallas. And not to mention, the 49ers are still 4-4. Like, or yeah, 4-4. So, I mean, technically, I don't even know if they, with like tiebreakers and everything like that, I don't even know if they make a wild card spot at this current point in time. Now, do I think that they're a better team than that record shows? Obviously, I have them as the 6th best team in the NFL, but Dallas didn't do anything this week that made me believe that they're worse than they were last week. I know San Francisco did some good things against LA, but this was a game that I quite frankly expected them to win. Maybe didn't expect them to win in this fashion, but they had a lot of advantageous matchups against LA, especially once LA started to go away from their scripted stuff that they had built up over the bye week. I think, 6 or 5, either one. I do feel better about honestly, if the Vikings didn't just have one loss, I'd probably have the Bucs and Niners over the Vikings. Don't tell Tyler. But it does. If we want to put them at 5, that's totally cool with me.
Okay, it's close for me. I'm probably gonna put him at 5. You know how I feel about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, and something that we like. Yes.
Which is so weird because you used to be like the biggest Dak truther on planet Earth.
How opinions change over the years, man.
Because I was like, why do you love Dak so much when he's literally like your arch rival's quarterback? And this is when I hated him. And now I think the hate's gone a little bit too far to say that he's close to as good as Cooper Rush. But we're not having that conversation today because I refuse to let us have that conversation.
Nice self-control, something we don't practice a lot.
And that show, I was going to say that shows
Hell
growth.
Yeah, especially in the power ranking segment. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and slide the Niners in front of the Cowboys because, a lot of that was due to Tony Pollard getting all of the carries, I think. And Jerry Jones came out and clearly said that Zeke is going to be the number 1.
That's not
And happening. I think that's fucking ridiculous that you come out and say that. That makes Tony Pollard so upset. That makes him guaranteed to leave in the offseason. Not that he wasn't already, but fuck, man. Jerry Jones is so stupid. Also, on the Niners side, we just got a taste of how this offense looks with CMC for the first time in like fully involved. He threw a passing touchdown, ran for 1, and caught a touchdown in his first fucking game with a full week of practice. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and slide the Niners at 5. But let's round out the rest of this tier 1. I have the Ravens sitting at that 7 spot. But we both have the Dolphins coming in to round out the tier 1, correct?
Yes. So Ravens. So it's Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Vikings, Niners, Cowboys, Ravens, Dolphins. I'm perfectly cool with that tier 1.
That moves us on to tier 2. And this is when it really starts to shake up a little bit because at that 9 spot, after their impressive win this week, another one, I'm going to Seahawks.
You
let's go.
Let's go power rankings, man. Dude, this is awesome. Wow.
I don't even know what to say. There's no arguments to be had.
I'm like, I have no notes. The
Seahawks have been incredibly impressive so far this year. They catch another dub. Geno looks like that guy. This team looks like happy to play football right now. Geno, DK, and Tyler Lockett were all doing the press conference together after the game.
And look, this game could have been, we'll talk about the Giants soon, but this game could have been a lot worse than it was. You had Tyler Lockett just barely get his foot down, or barely not get his foot down on a touchdown. Then he has a touchdown off of his face mask. Not to mention he fumbles at the 2-yard line. This game could have been busted open a lot sooner than it was. But yeah, I like if I didn't feel good at any of these tier 1 teams, which I feel good about all of them, dude, Seattle would be cracking that tier. I just want to see them in it. So maybe something happens to one of these teams where I don't feel as good about them next week, man. And I do want to see Seattle in that tier 1 after. We had them at 29 in our preseason power rankings, which is not even like a shot like we're terrible because I can't name anybody that had them winning more than like 7 games this year. Like no one thought that this would happen. This is unequivocally the greatest story of the season. Like Geno Smith and this Seattle team with Pete Carroll. I couldn't be happier for what they're doing
Yeah,
there.
and the determination, bro. Like, you throw it to Tyler Lockett twice and he fucks up, and Geno's like, bro, I'm going to you a third time. And he catches the game-winning touchdown.
No, like I'm gonna
Yeah,
need you
that's
later.
fucking
Yeah,
awesome, dude. And in the post-game presser, I mean, you never saw Russell Wilson, DK, and Tyler stand at the podium together and do a press conference. And one of the Tyler Lockett's first things that he said was, it's amazing what you can do when nobody's looking to take the credit. That's awesome. I'm with this Seattle team. I love what's going on right now. Kenny Walker looks good. They belong in 9. So no debates there. I have the Bengals sliding behind the Seahawks, and then we both have that. I've got the Giants following them up.
So okay, it was fun while it lasted. It was fun. I'm not too. I've got the Titans and then the Chargers and then the Giants. Because look, this is my thing with the Giants all year. You see what happens with this team when something goes ever so. Their margin for error is so thin. They have 2 special team screw ups. Richie James muffs 2 punts. They lose by 2 touchdowns. And you even get basically a free touchdown. You get a guy fumble at the 2-yard line. Their margin for error is just so thin that if they throw, make one turnover, they're just going to make you beat yourself all game. And if you don't, you're going to beat them more times than not. I could definitely see them continuing to move down if a couple things go against them, they're going to lose. That's just how it is because of the roster that they've built. Like, listen, I love the culture that Dable has built. I think that 100% he should be coach of the year. But just like I said, their margin for error is so thin, and they're not going to win games consistently playing that kind of football.
So, I can see the Titans being at the top out of those 3 teams, but just take a look. Yes, their record looks phenomenal, just like it did last year, but
so does the Giants.
Yeah, okay, that's fair, but
I feel much better about the Titans as a football team than I do about the Giants.
That's fair. I see that. But as we're going down the list here of the Titans' recent win streak, last 4 come against the Colts, the Commanders, the Colts again, and then the Texans. So, are we screaming hallelujah for this team? Not me.
I mean, we may not be screaming hallelujah, but look, man, I mean, yeah, the Giants beat Baltimore, but again, crazy turn of events there. Green Bay's, in the shitter right now. And they beat Jacksonville, who's sitting at 2-6 right now. The week before that, they beat Chicago.
Bro,
and Carolina before they got PJ.
Packers. They beat come on now, bro.
The Packers suck, but the Packers suck though, right? We have them at 23. We should. Ted, I don't know what your power rankings look like. Commanders in front of the Packers. Shouldn't we be giving the Commanders win from the Titans a little bit more clout than the Packers win from the Giants? Right? Is this not power rankings?
That's fair. Okay.
And I feel much better about Derrick Henry being able to carry this offense than I feel about Saquon being able to carry the Giants offense, despite the fact that they have a significantly better. Well, they have a better left tackle than the Titans do. The rest of their offensive line is pretty much equal with the Titans.
Also, They didn't really make any splash at the deadline. You saw them trade away Kadarius Toney, so maybe that sends a message of what kind of this team's looking at this year. But the Titans, they didn't make any moves at the deadline, but it looks like Malik Willis. I know Ryan Tannehill's injured right now, but it looks like they're making a change at quarterback that could benefit them overall.
I don't know if it's. I was about to say I don't know if it's permanent because, dude, they played Houston and he did not look very good. I know that it wasn't like a close game. I know it was only 17-10, but the Texans scored with 10 seconds left to make it from 17-3 to 17-10. So it wasn't really a close game, but when Derrick Henry rushes for 200 yards, there were just a couple mistakes here and there with Malik Willis that don't make me feel as confident about the Titans moving forward. But I still feel a little bit better with them because I think they'll go back to Tannehill when he's healthy, and then at that point, I feel better about what they're doing than the Giants.
Okay, all right, let's put the Titans in front of the Giants. But you said, what was the other in contention here? The Chargers. Okay, I'm putting the Giants
Chargers,
for sure. That's that's the compromise.
Okay. I won't give much. I was about to say I won't give much of an argument here, but this is a team that's like their main drawback is the injury problems, and they did just get a bye week, heal up a little bit.
But a lot of those guys
Obviously,
aren't.
You got guys like Herbert
A
and
lot of those
Keenan
guys aren't
Allen,
healing anytime soon.
ailing
Rashawn
injuries.
Slater, he's out for the year.
Yeah, Slater. I know Mike Williams did just go down with a high ankle sprain. I mean, who do they have this week? That might
And also,
kind of be
they play
ultimate.
the Falcons this week, so that'll be actually a test. The spread.
I can't believe how high I have the Falcons. I can't believe myself. I'm so disappointed.
They look good beating. I mean, they did just beat the Panthers in overtime, so that's kind of concerning. But
they should, I was saying they shouldn't have if DJ Moore would.
Also, we're kind of forget this is its classic case of the bye week, kind of benefiting a team. We're forgetting they just got their shit rocked by Seattle, 37-23. They barely beat the Broncos the week before. They beat them by 3 points. They beat the Browns by 2 points. The spread for the Chargers-Falcons game, you want to give it a guess?
Yeah, but the Giants have been doing the same thing. They
have a better record.
I mean, the Giants just got their shit kicked in by the Seahawks. Fair. Chargers have a better roster.
Paper what? Yep.
More roster watcher.
The Giants will be ahead of the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think that's where the buck stops.
Okay, that's fine. All right, and then okay, so Giants then Chargers. After that, dude, I've got Atlanta. I can't believe myself. I cannot believe myself. But I've got Atlanta.
You have the Falcons higher than I do. Unbelievable. That's
it makes me sick.
Well,
but
I just maybe I can ease some of your stresses, because I have an argument for a team that should be ahead of the Falcons, and after that performance last night, I think it's the Browns. They looked really good.
Wow. That's a
yes, but jump. Deshaun Watson is back very soon now. And this team, that's how the Browns are supposed to look. And they dogged the Bengals, who should have been good last night. They dogged them. This was a team that was number 4 in our power rankings before the Jamar Chase injury, number 6 after. So they beat a tier 1 team, smacked the dog shit out of them. So the run game looks phenomenal. Kareem Hunt's still in town.
And I know Watson's coming back. I know Watson's coming back in this multiple times this year, where he'll have a good game, a really, really good game, like he had last night. He did the same thing against Pittsburgh, and then he'll have an okay game, and then he'll have a poor game, and then he'll have a really bad game, and then he'll have a really good game again. And right now we're at the really good game. So we're probably going to see the mad game next week, and the bad game, and then the really bad game, and then we're going to get Watson. So I was not as high on them this week. In fact, I wasn't even as close to as high. I had them, and this may have been a little bit of an understating what they did. I had them at 24.
That's how my Jets pick was last week. I had them. I didn't even say it to you guys, but I had them at fucking 25, and you guys had them in tier 2, and I was like, I'm not gonna argue it.
Well, yeah. I was about to say I've moved the Jets back not significantly.
Yeah, I have to,
because I don't feel as good. The teams below them just have so many problems as well, so it's just easier to keep the Jets there.
I'll play.
All right, so
I'll play devil's advocate for the Browns real quick over the Falcons. The Falcons are 4-4, but if you look at the Browns so far this year, man, especially recently, they lost to the Patriots, but then they lost by 3 to the Ravens, a team we have in tier 1, and they probably shouldn't have lost that game. Phantom false start call. So that's interesting.
Sends it to overtime, but yeah, it was a close game. But they also got the shit kicked out of them by New England, who then got the shit kicked out of them by Chicago. It's just the NFL is just this big circular graphic that's like this team beat this team and this team beat this team, and
you know what it comes down to though?
It's tough. So
the Falcons beat the Browns in week 4. That's what it is.
That is a thing. Okay. I'll just be like, yeah, okay, well, the Falcons beat the Browns. Let me move them up 10 spots.
All right.
So the Browns at 14.
No, the Falcons at 14 now. Then the
Oh, okay. Wait, where are the Chargers?
Wait, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes, the Falcons at 14. And then the Browns at 15, in my opinion. Because the team that I have following them up is the Jets. Just because of their record.
Yeah, as did I. Record. But, dude, do not be surprised. Like, I don't know. They have a bye this week, so they're gonna get bailed by that. They're gonna get held.
Panic.
Probably into low tier 2. They suck. They're really, and I said it last week. I said, look, Zach Wilson, when he's under pressure, is legitimately one of the worst quarterbacks of all time. And you look at the list of guys that have those like 20-ish PFF grades when they're under pressure. It's Blaine Gabbert. It's Blake Bortles. It's Rex Grossman. It's Mark. It's guys you do not want to be on a list with. And he's on that list. And look, it looks cool. Like it feels like he has better escapability than Lamar Jackson at certain points in time. But every time you just put the Raiders at 32, just for the fuck of it. But like the way he's able to like legitimately escape rushers is fascinating. But he always makes the wrong decision after escaping the pressure. Like almost always fucks it up, whether it be a pick, whether it be just missing a flat. He just mentally is not there. And you think about, him at BYU, he had, especially with the competition he was playing with, he had the best offensive line, like by far. Like he would scramble just for the fun of it. And now that's not happening because his offensive line isn't very good. And you're going to be seeing the pass rushes in the NFL and they are eating him alive. So time to press the panic button in New York, especially with the injuries starting to mount. But I think their schedule does ease up a little bit after the bye. So maybe they limp into the playoffs at like 9-8 or something. I don't know. Who knows?
You have to think. I saw there were reporters asking Saleh if it's time to make a quarterback change in New York because they did win games with Joe Flacco, and they're not winning games with Zach Wilson.
I mean, I was going to say technically they've won some games with Zach Wilson too, because Zach Wilson was undefeated. That's what Tyler told me. And I was like, dude, I don't trust it. They're winning in spite of him. They're not winning because of him. And, we see it this week. The thing is, after this, there's literally outside of like the bottom 2 or 3 teams, you could literally make an argument to have any of these teams in any order. After the Jets, it's a clusterfuck. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
Last thing I'll say on the Jets, God damn it. Just got away from me. They haven't done bad enough to exit tier 2. But, dude, okay. On Zach Wilson. Like, this is the classic fucking, you're playing your rookie quarterback too early. You didn't give him time to develop. You made the same mistake. Yes.
This is the second year, though.
You've made the same mistake with Darnold and Zach Wilson.
Well, and that's the thing. I honestly think it's a New York thing. Like, you just throwing him into that situation, but the problem is they're never going to have a guy to be like, okay, we'll sit you behind X player to the point where you'd like feel good about it. They're just because they're always going to fuck up the draft. It's going to be 20 years before they have a chance to do that unless they go out and they get Teddy Bridgewater and fuck around with that experiment like a quarter of the league has. Like, I mean, you're just wasting your time. I mean, you've thrown Darnold in there. Daniel Jones in New York hasn't worked. It's just a mess. And you obviously they're not going to be in position this year, and this team's around him is getting too good. They might very well be this offseason in that a quarterback away tier where if, a superstar quarterback becomes available, I don't know if that's going to happen considering most of the moves were already made. But I mean, I'd imagine somebody would be interested in Zach Wilson and 2 for their superstar quarterback if it were to happen. Okay, real quick before we move on. Zach Wilson and like a pick of some kind for Derek Carr.
No, you can't do it because Davante Adams just signed up to be with Derek Carr for 5 years.
Well, that was ill-advised on Davante Adams' part, as well as ill-advised in Vegas. Like I couldn't I was like appalled by how high people were ranking Derek Carr coming into the season. I know he had a good season, but there's no other sample size to show that he's that good other than one season. Like, if we're gonna do that for Derek Carr, we better fucking be doing it for Geno Smith.
But Geno Smith doesn't have Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, fucking Josh Jacobs out of the backfield, and Josh McDaniels as his head coach.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, that's why.
That's why
I'm saying we were high.
Put Geno up there, man.
He does belong. All right, let's move on to the next tier, and I don't have the Cardinals moving a spot.
I don't either. I actually had them at 16, weirdly enough, but the Browns moving up in front of them dropped them down, so now they're at 17.
Okay, no arguments there. I've got the Rams following them up, but I don't feel great about it.
So I had the Saints after the Cards. Look, I know that they didn't look good 2 weeks ago, but 2 fluky pick sixes, could be, each of those could have been 14-point swings, so a 28-point swing to end the half there. If they just, I don't know, run the ball, they're, I think they're going into the half leading, so a little rough for them there, but they come out and they beat the dog shit out of Vegas. They know when to get up for games. Like, I don't know what it is. If they could just get up for, like they do for, like, Tampa, every time they play Tampa, they're up for Tampa. Like, every time. And this was Dennis Allen's revenge game. And they got up for that shit like crazy. Kamara looks fantastic. You've got to imagine the Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry come back sometime soon. And they also did this without Marshawn Lattimore to guard Devontae Adams. So you think about, when they get him back, they'll be able to really, they practically blanked Devontae Adams this week. They'll be able to do that even more so when they get a Marshawn Lattimore back. And they won this week, and a lot of the teams below them didn't, or did rather unconvincingly, and the Saints won more convincingly than any other team.
I can get with that. When you look at the other teams, especially a team like the Rams, the Saints are probably in much better position to win that division than the Rams are. They're winning their division. So you like the Saints' position as far as playoffs go. And if you look at their some of their wins so far this year, they beat the Falcons in week 1. An awesome win. And they lost to the Bucs, lost to the Panthers, lost by 3 to the Vikings, we have as our number 4 overall team. They beat the Seahawks 39-32, who we have as a tier 2 team. Lost by 4 to the Bengals with Jamar Chase. Lost to the Cardinals, but then beat the dog shit out of the Raiders this week. So I can get with the Saints there. I can get with it. And then I have, what was the team that I said? The Rams. Are you cool with putting the Rams behind them?
I had Tampa in front of LA. Obviously, they play each other this week. Like I said, it's the same conversation with the Packers where Tampa has it. Like, the roster's there. It's just a matter of figuring it out. LA has a legit problem on the offensive line.
So does Tampa Bay.
Cup, it seems like he's going to play not as bad as LA. LA, they looked good in the first 2 quarters because it felt like they drew up a lot of plays to protect that. But once that was gone, it felt like they were on Matt Stafford all game. Cooper Kupp might miss time. And LA, they did just kind of get whipped by San Francisco.
At home.
So,
yeah. I can't get with it, dude. The Bucs have been looking so fucking atrocious, dude. They get shut out by the Panthers, and then they play at home against the Ravens and lose that one. It was a close game if you look at the box score, but the Ravens dominated that game the entire time. I have the Bucs at 25 to put it in perspective for you. Like, this team is dog shit.
I can move the Rams. Dude, the Rams are dog shit.
I would say that even though
I think the Rams are dog shit too.
Both of the teams are dog shit, for sure. But I will take Stafford rest of season over Brady. Brady's looked fucking terrible, dude. He can't do it anymore.
Brady has.
He can't hack it.
No, he had I can't point at a certain thing and be like, he's the same physically that he was last year. It's not like he's gotten slower. You can't get much slower than Brady is. He's still got the arm. Like, he's still. Fuck that Mike Evans throw was a fucking dot right to him.
I know. That's what it is. Like, in Tom Brady, if you've been following his career, this is getting existential, but he's always been a huge, he's always with his kids. Like, Tom Brady and his kids has been a huge storyline. Like, him kissing him on the fucking face, whatever. Like, that's always been a huge deal to him, is his kids. And now that he's divorced...
It's kissing them on the face.
But now that Giselle and Tom are divorced, Giselle currently has 2 of the kids. Tom has 1 of the kids. So I think it's really fucking with him, like, a lot in the brain. And
I agree. I do think that that's a legit factor in our power rankings.
it is, because there's no other explanation for the way that Tom Brady is. I mean, you say you can't point to anything specific. Bro, he sailed like 4 or 5 passes to the back of the fucking end zone off the wall. Like, sailed them. Like, Tom Brady used to easily make those passes, man, and he can't. He can't anymore. And it's not like they were hard passes to make. Like, those were easy Tom Brady cash it in throws. Like, it's not like he can't make the really good throws anymore. Like, that's fine. Like, as long as he can be serviceable. But they were in the end zone. When they got in the red zone, despite outside of the last possession of the game where they got garbage time points, he could not put the ball on target in the red zone to save his fucking life. I think it's over for Tom Brady. I do. So okay.
They're gonna win a Super Bowl this year, and you're gonna look like an idiot. That's just how it works with Brady. I mean, I'm obviously not making that call, but that's how it's gonna happen. Is you're gonna say Tom Brady. You know how many people said Tom Brady was done 10 years ago? I was listening to a podcast today, and it was like, I have a daughter that's in 3rd grade that is older than me saying Tom Brady is washed.
That's hilarious. But now he's actually washed. Like, it's pretty bad.
And the crazy thing is, without Giselle, he might play till he's 50 because he's got no reason to go away from the game.
And he's just going to destroy his legacy, man. Like, I'll say I bet for the first time ever, well, not for the first time ever, but I bet pretty confidently.
What if he goes to New York?
I don't know.
If anybody can handle the media, it's him. Dude, Tom Brady in New York. Oh, my God. Playing against Bill Belichick twice a year. With that fucking media circus in New York, oh boy, that'd be something for the NFL.
Because I don't feel like Tom Brady he was all aboard the Bruce Arians train. Like, he seems like he's like really out of touch with the Todd Bowles train. Like,
well, I think it's more like because him and Arians butted heads for a little bit. Because especially like at the first year with the Bucs where they started kind of slow and they were trying to run the Arians offense, and then midway through the season they were like, all right, you need to let me do what I do, and they did, and they won the Super Bowl. But him and Leftwich have seemed to be on the same page. You would think, the way they're playing, it feels like Leftwich hasn't been there. Like he went and deserved with Jacksonville. I don't know. Rams can move in front of them. They're not falling to 25. I can't move them that far down.
For context.
In fact, I think it pretty much stops here.
For context, teams that I have in front of the Bucs: the Commanders, 4-4. The Patriots, the Saints, the Bears, the Broncos, the Packers.
Okay, so my tier 3 is currently Arizona, New Orleans, the Rams, the Bucs, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Commanders, the Packers. I cannot believe the Packers are 24th. I cannot believe that.
Here's my argument for the Packers being ahead of the Bucs.
It blows my mind.
I'll say that the Packers played Buffalo on Sunday night in Buffalo, and they made it. I mean, it wasn't a super competitive game, but they were in it. And
I will say I felt better about the Packers after the Buffalo game than I did coming into the Buffalo game. But that being said, they didn't make the move. If they traded for Brandon Cooks today, I would have probably put them in tier 2. But they didn't. And as of right, there's nothing coming to save them. There's nothing. And I just feel like there's a Tom Brady revenge game coming. Like, it's just going to happen. And we're just going to be like, oh, there he is. He's back. It's okay. And I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, Aaron Rodgers could go out and ball out. And I just don't feel good about them. The defenses, started to kind of look like the unit that we hoped they'd be. I mean, it's not like a bottom half unit. Over the last few weeks, it's been better. But
okay, so that
I don't know,
recency, man. We look at it like the Bucs got blown out at home, shutout actually against the Panthers.
blown out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Panthers. Yeah. Well, 21-3, but that's
Yes.
basically a
Okay.
shutout
And
against
then you play Baltimore at home, and like I said, you don't control that game at any point in time. But then you go to Green Bay, like they lost only by 10 to the Bills.
Green Bay didn't control. I know it was Buffalo, but and they scored at the end too. So let's not act like that didn't happen.
That's fair. The Packers lose to the Commanders, who are now 4-4, have won 3 games in a row. They lost to the Jets, lost to the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the Commanders in front of them.
They won against the Patriots. The Packers beat the Bucs. The Packers beat the Bucs in week 2, and they beat them convincingly.
Yeah, but the Bucs were throwing to fucking Cecil Grayson or whatever the fuck his name is, and like
Tom Brady can't get the ball to Cecil Grayson or Chris Godwin. It doesn't matter. He can't get the ball to anybody.
Dude, it was so infuriating watching Chris win because I had him on the fantasy team and I was the one that suggested the over 6.5 to Lager, and he had like 3 fucking drag routes across the middle just get batted down. Like he was wide open and they just got fucking batted down, and he finished with 6 catches. I was so pissed because like those were easy catches and they just got batted down before they could even make it to him.
All right, let's make a decision between the Bucs and the Packers. Let's do the Packers, man. Come on. Get on board.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, let's do whatever you want to do.
Let's go. I like that energy.
So, okay. So then are the Bucs staying at 21?
Dude, like I said, I've got the Commanders, the Patriots, the Bears, and the Broncos all ahead of the Bucs and the Packers.
So why do I was about to, godly. The Bears.
Okay, I can get with that.
No. I mean, I know it's 6 weeks ago, but the Packers beat the shit out of the Bears. And
Commanders are 4-4. We look like a different team with Taylor.
I know. I had the Commanders in front of the Packers, but now that you've, I don't know if I can put Tampa in tier 4. They're not that bad a football team. They're really not. I mean, to say that they're like 2 spots away from the Raiders or the Colts right now, no, they're not that bad. They've had, I mean, yeah, they're 3-5, but too bad. The 2 most recent weeks have been rough to watch, but man, they're just not a bad football. And listen, Shaq Barrett going down hurts, and that's more of the reason why I've had them moving down than the loss to Baltimore, because that's a guy that's a top 12 edge rusher that gets you pressured, and you've got to worry about him as an offensive line on a week-to-week basis, and he's gone now, especially for a pass rush that has struggled already without Shaq Barrett. The farthest I can let them fall is 24. I can't let them fall to. I cannot have the Bucs be in the last slide.
So that puts them at the bottom of tier 3. I'll say that the Bears don't belong ahead of them, and the Broncos probably don't. I had them ahead, but they probably don't belong.
I have the Broncos. No, I have the Broncos ahead of Tampa Bay. So it's right now. It's Cardinals, Saints, Rams, Packers, and then I have New England, Denver, Washington, Tampa.
Denver.
Obviously, I don't know what we're doing with Green. If we want to,
we had Denver in tier 4.
Denver's 3-5.
Okay,
they just won a game. They just
in London, which wasn't a home game for Jacksonville, and they didn't win impressively at all.
It wasn't a home game for. It wasn't a home game for Denver either. They're traveling far. It's much more of a home game for Jacksonville than it is. I mean, that's as close to a home game in London as you're going to get if it's Jacksonville, and they got Chase Edmonds today. Hey, maybe.
Let's all right. Let me give some props for my Commanders. Okay, like here we go, because this is when we're gonna have our Commanders talk. We've won 3 games in a row. We beat the Bears 12-7 on Thursday Night Football. We beat the Packers 23-21. It's the first time in NFL history, or first time in Aaron Rodgers' history, that he's never converted a third down in a game. Heard that the other day. So obviously he said on the Pat McAfee show, "What did they do to help stop you?" Nothing. Yeah, you didn't get a fucking third down for the first time in your fucking career, asshat. So try rethinking that answer real quick, bro. But then we beat the Colts, who have beat the Chiefs. We beat the Colts in Indy when the Colts beat the Chiefs in Indy. So
are we going to do this for every we beat Daddy, who beat this. I mean, we could do that with every team. I mean,
We could, but the Commanders have
Carolina beat Tampa.
The Commanders have won 3 games in a row.
Okay.
The Bucs have been absolutely ass cheeks. So have the Green Bay Packers. The Commanders are hot right now.
I don't see an argument of why the Rams get to stick at 19 because the Rams should be right next to Green Bay and Tampa, in my opinion.
I'm with that.
I don't see any reason why there should be like 4 teams in front of them, and I can't put the Patriots, Commanders, and even the Broncos like 3 teams in front of the Rams, Packers, and I cannot. Dude, this is insane. Dude. The Bucs were 3, the Rams were 4, and the Packers were 5 for us in the preseason.
Crazy shit happens.
I mean, there's an argument that they could be 23, 24, and 25.
Like Antonio Brown said, the parody around the league is fucking crazy right now, man.
Yeah,
a parody. Are we in agreement that the Patriots are better? I think the Patriots are better off than the Commanders.
Yeah.
So
I had Denver in behind both of them, but I honestly feel like Denver should be in front of both of them.
Dude, what changes your mind so much? Like, they barely beat Jacksonville in London, bro. Like,
you guys barely beat the Colts with essentially just Nyheim Hines. Taylor played very minimally, and Sam Ehlinger.
Brent made the quarterback change and everything. They benched Matt Ryan, and they beat the Chiefs with Matt Ryan. So, I can't speak to that. But, I'm not.
It's not how the NFL works. It's not this team beat this team, beat this team, beat this team, so therefore this team is better.
It's just if you're looking for an argument, man, that's what we've been throwing out these past few weeks in arguments. But I can't put the Broncos ahead of the Rams, Packers, or Bucs. Okay. They just traded away Bradley Chubb too, dude. Like, they're obviously sellers. Let's do it. I'm doing it.
All right. So, let's go over this again.
Cardinals,
Saints. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Cardinals, Saints, Patriots, Commanders, Rams, Packers, Bucs, and then I'll put I had the Colts ahead of the Broncos, but I'll put the Broncos ahead of the Colts. Right behind Tampa Bay.
Colts are at 26 for me. Colts suck.
The Colts are also at 26. So, weird how that ended up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Arizona, New Orleans, New England, Washington, LA, Green Bay, Tampa, Denver.
Yeah.
In tier 3.
So then let's move these teams down.
Honestly, I would be willing to move Washington in front of New England. I like what I've seen from them more recently than what I've seen
this
from
looks
New
like
England.
A new team with Taylor Heineke. Like, we just look, not that like the offense looks different, or obviously it looks different because we have to simplify it, but this team looks like they want to win. They want to win.
He's just so like, he learned so much from Ryan Fitzpatrick of, look, I'm not that good, but that guy over there is, so I'm going to give him the ball, and I don't care if it's a bad decision, I'm going to do it. And that's Taylor Heineke in a nutshell, and it's kind of working. And I don't know when Chase Young comes back. Is Jahan Dotson, has he been in and out of the lineup? I know I saw him as out this week. I don't know when he's coming back. But he was surprisingly good for them early in the year. All right, so that wraps up tier 3.
So 1. In tier 4, can we put?
I've got Chicago at 25.
I'm with that because I had them at the bottom of tier 3, and the Broncos in tier 4,
and then
Colts. Yep.
And then Indy. Yep. And then Vegas.
I have the same thing.
And then Jacksonville. Carolina. Pittsburgh. Detroit. And Houston. Look at that. Dude, we caught a little, we were slowing down a little bit in the middle, but the top and the bottom was flawless. outside of San Francisco, Dallas, but that was solved pretty
Well,
easily.
yeah.
Good work.
It's literally what we've said. Like, it's the bottom teams, the top
I
teams.
feel bad for the teams
Yeah.
that are in
Well,
those
it's like the
bottom 8.
certifiable bottom teams,
Because we
then
were
the
just like, oh,
certifiable top teams, and then everything in between. Like, that's exactly how you expected this to work out, So,
yeah. I do have a weird feeling that we're going to come. Dude, I just know that we're going to finish like fucking 7-2 or something, get that winning record, miss the playoffs, and pick it like 17th, and it's just all for nothing. Like, we lose all these games in the early for fucking nothing. Because I am like legitimately worried the Steelers schedule in the last couple weeks is not good. Like, there are bad teams on it. I mean, we have in the last 6 weeks, we get Atlanta, Baltimore, who's going to be good, Carolina, Vegas, Baltimore again, and then Cleveland. Like, there are 3 winnable games in there, and we always play Baltimore and Cleveland really well, regardless of who's better than who. And we even get Indy in week 12. So I'm just so fucking scared we're going to fuck this up. And especially with Carolina and Atlanta, those 2 teams, I mean, Atlanta may be less than Carolina, but Carolina's going to want that draft position too. Like, that's a game that's going to be an ugly ass game to watch. That's going to be rough. Watching that game, man, it's going to be 6-9. Yeah. It's going to be, oh my God.
That's real quick, I want to reflect on some of these bottom teams. The Raiders, they stink. They got shut out by the Saints. Yeah. Their season's done, man. I mean, Derek Carr, he stinks.
They just said that supposedly McDaniels and Mark Davis had another long conversation after the game.
Well,
I don't know if they've already had their bye, so they definitely play next week. If things go rough next week, would not be. But they play Indy next week. If they lose to Indy, would not be surprised if McDaniels gets canned.
Well, the thing is, I was talking about it in the chat. Like, maybe that Denver job wasn't a fluke, man. Like, he was the head coach in Denver for a little bit, for a year, and then he's fired, and he kind of comes out and says, like, hey, I really just wasn't ready for a head coaching position. And then he's the successful offensive coordinator for the Patriots, takes them to Super Bowls, yada, 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 and he was like a home run head coaching hire by anybody who wanted to hire him, seen across the league. And then he gets hired by Indy, like in 2018, and he backs out of the job last minute, which is something that we rarely see. And it was kind of just like, what the fuck? Like, Josh McDaniels, you were set pretty nice to be the head coach in Indy. Like, what happened? It kind of really never got an explanation to that. And now he gets a head coaching job with the fucking Raiders, and it stinks. He absolutely stinks. There's no explanation as to why this offense is not good outside of Josh McDaniels. I mean, you acquired Devontae Adams in the offseason. You have Derek Carr. You have Darren Waller. You have Hunter Renfrow. You even have Matt Collins, who's played great so far this year. You have Josh Jacobs coming out of the backfield. There's no excuse for how this offense is playing right now. It's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's how it was against the Saints. It was terrible to watch. So Belichick really does rule overall, man. Like, that's the conclusion that I've come to. It really was Belichick instead of McDaniel, because they're running a similar system. Like, they ran a similar system well, I don't know about that, but it really is Belichick overall.
Yeah. And we got rid of a team that could be vying for. Dude, I don't think Carolina's going to be in play for them. I know that they've only got 1 win over Houston, but they're competitive, and PJ Walker is playing for his job. So is Steve Wilkes. He's coaching for his job. I don't think there's a chance they get the number 1 pick right now. I think it's honestly I think it's just Houston. I think Detroit will find a way to win a shootout down the road. Jacksonville might be in play again. If they get the number 1 pick 3 years in a row and somebody isn't fired, that's not the head coach, I don't know what to do. Like, what did Trent Baalke do to be able to keep that? You get the number 1 pick 2 years, but if they get it for a 3rd year in a row, how do you keep your job? Like, how are you the worst team in the league and keep your job for 3 years in a row? But good for Houston, continuing to lose. This team sucks. I mean, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but they are terrible. There's no hope anywhere on this roster, like top to bottom. Derek Stingley's cool. Jalen Petre's cool. Dameon Pierce is cool. That's it. Like, there's nothing to look forward to except for CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. And yeah, we just talked about Pittsburgh. Chicago is kind of fucking up right now because
Well,
but this was the goal of this season, was to not win not win any games really, but not win a lot of games, but walk out of the season with confidence that Justin Fields can be your guy, because nothing would hurt more than having to be like, God damn it, we're gonna have to take CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Will Levis because we don't feel good about Justin Fields, and we have an opportunity to take one of these elite quarterback prospects, so we're gonna do so, and we're gonna have to trade Justin Fields away. Now that it seems like Justin Fields is gonna work, I know it's kind of hard to say that after 3 games of him looking better than we thought coming into the year, but this is what you went out to do, and you also just acquired 2 second round, or you acquired a second, then you acquired Chase Claypool as well. You also get a 4th for Robert Quinn. They're doing it the right way. I love what Ryan Poles is doing right now. If there was an executive of the year for like not good teams, Ryan Poles is that dude. If there's an executive of the year of going backwards, it's this guy.
fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he was a head coach or a GM hire that didn't really seem to be working out early on, because they had so much money in the offseason and they signed guys like Byron Pringle to help them out, and that was really looked sadly upon. But
that's the good thing. That's the good thing here is like, it's like the opposite of the give the guy no excuses strategy. It's give him every excuse, and if he does anything remotely close to being good, you might have something. And they've sucked. Like everything around him sucks. Even Darnell Mooney, who was supposed to be like his guy, has been relatively terrible to start the season, and he still looks great. I love the way that they're starting to deploy him in like that read option, like kind of doing what Eagles do with Jalen Hurts. And I think this could be the new era of the game manager quarterback, is this guy that runs the ball 10, 11 times a game, and those are 10, 11 plays where the ball is not put in harm's way. Like when you think of a game manager, you think of Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, a guy that doesn't move. Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, those kinds of guys can manage games too on the ground, and I think that might be something we see a lot
I
more.
mean, dare I say, when it comes to Justin Fields, I mean, if we're redrafting his draft class today, is he the number 1 overall quarterback taken? I mean, not the number 1 overall pick. But
Today, probably next week, or like 3 weeks ago, probably not. It's just it's the crazy thing is how generational that quarterback class was supposed to be versus like the 2020 class, which was like cool, but it wasn't the 2021 class. 2021 class was supposed to like reshape the league top to bottom, and we're still like, I cannot believe that Davis Mills is still even in the conversation. Like he's still being talked about, and not one of these guys has emerged. I mean, you look, Trevor Lawrence is playing terrible. Zach Wilson looks abysmal. Trey Lance has played 2 games, the actual starter, or a game and a half. Justin Fields has looked good over the last 3 weeks, but as a whole has not looked very good. And Mac Jones has been in and out of a starting job when healthy with Bailey Zappi.
yeah, I mean, it was so clear. Yeah, it's happy hour. But it was so clear that Mac Jones was the guy out of that class last year, and even, I mean, obviously going into this year that was the case. But how quickly the tables are a turning draft class. But all right, man. Well, that wraps us up for our power rankings. Let me recap for our audio listeners. Going down the list in order, we have the Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Vikings, 49ers, Cowboys, Ravens, and Dolphins in tier 1. The Seahawks, Bengals, Titans, Giants, Chargers, Falcons, Browns, Jets in tier 2. Cardinals, Saints, Commanders, Patriots, Rams, Packers, Bucs, Broncos in tier 3, and then rounding out tier 4, Bears, Colts, Raiders, Jags, Steelers, Panthers, Lions, Texans. All right.
By the way, I know this was just audio listeners. This is the first time I've wore a Steelers jersey in probably 3 or 4 weeks. And you know why? It's because we're the 30th ranked team in the power rankings. And the only reason I'm wearing this, not because we won on Sunday, but because we traded Chase Claypool. I just had to honor him one last time. But this is rough, man. I've never experienced this kind of struggle before. And I honestly kind of like it. So
Welcome. If you can't see
Welcome.
on
Yay.
the YouTube, I'm shaking Jaden's hand. Welcome to the losing club, but I'm trying to figure out continuously losing club.
To
Yeah,
purgatory? You would like to call it
Purgatory's
purgatory?
Yeah, I'm with that. All right, man. Well, that just about does us for our power rankings this week. Sorry for any audio issues that happened. I mean, I tried my best to not talk over Jaden, but with the audio setup that I have, it seems to happen every so often. But shouldn't be too much of a problem. I tried to keep track of it. But hopefully you guys enjoy the power rankings episode. Let us know what you think when the post comes out on Thursday. And until this weekend, or until Friday, we record, we'll catch you. Peace.